Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Walkthrough Radio Show with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We got a great show for you today, guys. In the second half hour, K Walk's going to break down the draft. He's got some teams that he wants to talk about. We're going to give you our draft winners and draft losers. I'm going to get into a lot of NBA stuff today. We got some great playoff games that are going to be kicking off here, so we definitely got to talk NBA. But we're also going to discuss some of the worst picks ever in the NFL draft and also some of the best steals in the NFL draft. So we got some good stuff for you guys today. Let me get K-Walk in here. K-Walk, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
All is well, Jay. All is well. How are you doing this morning, my brother?
I'm doing good, man. And hey, side note, I think those Yankees are on an 8-game winning streak, aren't they? I've been paying attention to that baseball.
Indeed, man. Indeed. Ever since that fiasco with, against those guys, I forget the team, forget what it was, but nonetheless, the fans have calmed down. The Yankees are focused right now. Best winning percentage in all of baseball right now. So happy days. That's why I've got my Yankee gear on today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man, let's get into it. Let's talk NBA playoffs today. Celtics Bucks game one. Like we always say, man, it's too early to predict a series. We love to reserve the right to change our mind. But let's just dig into game one, man. Celtics coming off of a great series, obviously sweeping my Brooklyn Nets. And the Bucks, man, they've just kind of been the model of consistency when you think about it, man. Giannis and the way those guys play, they've just been super consistent all year. Now, they are going to be dealing with the loss of Chris Middleton. He's going to be out, which I think is a huge loss for them. But how do you see game one playing out, K-Walk, and who do you think has the advantage today?
Yeah, today, it's going to be a good one, man. You still got Chris Middleton out. So I'm going to give the slight edge to Boston because of that. I think he's a crucial part of the Milwaukee Bucks, man. You got Drew Holiday, of course. You got Brook Lopez, and obviously you got Giannis there as well. I think Chris Middleton, he's one of the most underrated players in the game today. But being without him is going to give the advantage to Boston. Tatum's playing well. I can't, say it enough. Tatum, Brown, and Smart are playing outstanding basketball on both ends of the court. And also you have Williams, who's coming back off of that injury as well. So I'm going to give the advantage to Boston today. I just think they're riding that momentum. I know some people don't like the momentum thing, but I really like it, Jay. And I think that Boston right now is playing the best defensive basketball game that we've seen, even with the Miami Heat playing the way that they're playing. But I really like the Boston Celtics. I'm gonna take the Boston Celtics in this one for sure.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. Boston is playing a brand of basketball that looks like it's just built for the playoffs. They're playing great defense. And good team defense too. They have some good individual defenders, obviously a guy like Marcus Smart, but they play outstanding team defense as well. And then they got some guys, man, as you mentioned, Jason Tatum, guys that can just put the ball in the basket and make big time shots when necessary. Look, man, I'm not going to say anything crazy and say Jason Tatum is like the best player in the NBA or anything like that, but it's hard pressed to find someone that's playing better than he is right now.
Right.
He is playing outstanding basketball right now. So they have all the ingredients, man, to be in an NBA Finals. And I agree with you. I like them here in game one. Like I don't want to pick the series yet because, of course, Giannis is an X factor, man. And when he gets it going, he's incredibly difficult to stop.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking today. One of the keys for me is how's that Boston defense going to defend Giannis? And will they have the same success or at least similar success with Giannis as they did with KD in the last series? If they can slow Giannis down, I think they've got a great chance to win. So that's going to be a fun one and an interesting one to watch. That second game today, K-Walk, Memphis and Golden State. When I think about Golden State, they've been there, they've done that, right? Steph, Clay, Draymond, some guys that have been around the block, Andre Iguodala. And now you got the young guns from Memphis, led by your guy, Ja Morant. He won you over, K-Walk.
Yes.
Ooh, it's gonna be a fun series, man. How do you see game one playing out today, and what do you expect?
Wow, Jay, this is going to be a fun one. You mentioned that's a great way to put it. It's going to be a fun one because you got two of the best guards in the game right now, and as you stated, Ja Morant has won me over, man. I mean, each and every game, I look at him, man, and I love the way he's kind of toned down his antics, man. So maybe that's why I'm liking him more and more because he's kind of toned that down. He's like I stated on Friday on the shoot around show is that he's he's maturing right before our eyes, if you will, in from that aspect of it. And he's just a phenomenal talent. But with all that being said, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to pick against John Morant and Morant and all that talent that he has, especially when you got Steph Curry on the other side, you got Draymond Green on the other side, you got a new look, refresh, F5 guy on the computer, and Klay Thompson. They all look really good. Wiggins is looking really good as well. So I'm gonna not gonna predict the series, but I am gonna predict the game tonight, and I'm gonna give it to today. I'm gonna give it to the Golden State Warriors, man. I just think right now they're battle tested. They've been here before. They're all together now. They're healthy. So with all that being said, you got Steve Kerr there, who I think is a very, very underrated coach in my mind. So with all that being said, I'm taking the Warriors tonight over the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I think I agree, man. It just seems like I said, a team that's been around the block a few times. That they know what to expect. They're very familiar with playoff basketball. And like you said, man, Andrew Wiggins has fit nicely into that role, right? I mean, he's obviously not a Kevin Durant, but he's kind of playing that role where he's getting
Right.
some easier buckets because you
Great point.
can't leave Klay, you can't leave Steph, and Draymond, man, just the ultimate facilitator on offense. Even though he's not really a threat to score the ball, he does so
Right.
much with picks and assists and things, and really just does a
Yes.
great job getting the ball into the right person's hands. So I like Golden State today too, man. And plus, I feel like Memphis, coming off a very tough series with Minnesota, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of back and forth in
Yeah.
that series. It'll be interesting to see emotionally how they respond and if they're ready to go for game one. So that's going to be interesting as well. But speaking of Andrew Wiggins and Golden State, man, something I was thinking about as I was watching my Brooklyn Nets get swept all last week. Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, man,
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to get out of Golden State. That big blow up with Draymond certainly didn't help things. But now
Yeah.
he's in Brooklyn, man. And one year he sat out with the injury. Last year it was him and a bunch of guys because everybody was hurt. And now this year they get swept in the first round of the playoffs. So 3 years in Brooklyn and nothing really to show for it. Do you think, and he would probably never say this publicly, K-Walk, but do you think Kevin Durant regrets leaving Golden State?
That is a great question, Jay. I don't know if he regrets it. I'm going to say no. To answer the question, no. But I do think that he's starting to realize that the grass is not necessarily greener on the other side. It just means that you have a higher water bill. And when that means what I say about that is that you have to put a little bit more water on that grass to make it greener. So I think that's where he's looking at it from that aspect of it. I'm going to say no. I don't think he regrets it, but he kind of like the grass is not greener on the other side. So I think he's good with his decision. I think he's going to make the most of it, and I think that he and Kyrie are going to come together and right the ship, if you will, because that's ultimately what they have to do, man. And I just think that this Ben Simmons project, if you will, has to play out before he makes that decision. So I'm going to say no, he doesn't regret leaving Golden State.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. Regret can be a hard thing for guys sometimes, man.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to regret anything. You
Right.
stand on your decision and you're willing to live with it. But I can't help but to think that especially if he's watching and he's watching how smooth that offense runs and the way they do things and the way that they're coached.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy that loves playing basketball, a high IQ guy in terms of being on the basketball floor. You got to think he's watching that saying, man, or if he doesn't regret it, he's got to be at least wishing that his team could play a version of that style of basketball, man. It's going to be interesting, man, because I just don't know if KD is ever going to win another championship. And I think had he stayed in Golden State, he would have the opportunity, obviously, to win several more. So I just wonder if some point in his life, if he's going to look back on that and say, maybe I made an emotional decision and not necessarily the best thing for my basketball career.
Yeah. Especially if he doesn't win another one, Jay. If he doesn't win another one, I think he will say that to himself.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man, let's talk about your Heat, Heat Sixers. This was going to be, man, the top bill, the best series in round two. Now we're not quite so sure. Obviously, the news, Joel Embiid looks like he's going to be out indefinitely, however long that is. He might be out for the whole series. Maybe they'll get him back later. And I've said all along, man, about the Heat. I think this is the deepest roster in the playoffs, top to bottom, 1 through 15. They got guys that can come on the floor and make meaningful contributions. So how do you feel about this one? Heat Sixers, game one. I think they kick off Monday, right? Game one Monday?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow night.
So how do you see game one playing out? And what does Philly need to do now that Joel Embiid is going to be on the sideline?
Yeah, Jay. I mean, I really, I noticed that Age was saying, and one thing that I always say is like, be careful what you ask for. But I really was hoping that Embiid would be in this series because I don't want, if the Heat were to win, I'm not saying they're going to win this series, but if the Heat were to win this series without Embiid being involved or being in play, then it's going to be tainted. It's going to be like when they were in the bubble and they got to, the NBA finals against the Lakers.
Yeah.
I know Princess is listening, so I'm going to shout out to her Lakers there. But, I just think there's going to be a little bit of an asterisk there for the Miami Heat. But I do like the Miami Heat right now. Even if Embiid was in there, I was still going to give the edge to the Miami Heat in this game, the first game, because I do like, because they have the home court advantage there. You got Kyle Lowry back. You got Jimmy Butler back. Everyone's healthy right now. They're ready to go. They had a decent layoff, not too long, in my opinion, as far as the time between Game 5 and Game 1 here for the Heat. But what the Sixers have to do though, Jay, they just have to step up. And it's, that Age was saying, next man up. Harden has to come to play. He has to step up his game. Tyrese Maxey has to step up his game. I think those two guys have to be the two leading scorers in this series. We don't know what Embiid, if he's going to be back. Listening to Doc Rivers earlier today or early this morning, he didn't sound too confident about him playing in this series at all, Jay, let alone, playing game one. But, I think those guys have to step up. Tobias Harris, you know what? I've been saying it all year. I think a lot of people have been saying it all year, but I've been saying it all year. This guy has to come up, man. He has to come up big. He has that big time contract. And, we see signs of it. He's showing signs of it that he can be a really big time scorer. He goes to the basket. He's explosive. He can hit the threes as well. So I just think that it's just the next man up mentality for the Sixers right now, Jay. And all those guys I mentioned, plus Danny Green has to step up as well. So that's basically what it is. It sounds cliche, but nonetheless, it's next man up and everyone has to come to play.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that it's really nothing else they can do, right? Embiid is out. Somebody's going to have to step up if they want to have a shot at winning this thing. But I'm kind of with you, man. I like Miami. Like I said, I just feel like they have a better roster top to bottom. Yeah. I think, coaching wise, I mean, they're not going to be at a disadvantage at all. In fact, I think they have the advantage with Eric Spoelstra up and down the sideline. So I just like Miami here. Even if Embiid was playing, that's kind of like a toss-up. So when you take Embiid out of it, right, it kind of feels like Miami has the advantage. And the thing is, too, like you look and you say, okay, well, James Harden. But Harden, man, like I don't know if he can do it consistently night in and night out anymore. I still believe he has some good games in him. Don't get me wrong. I think he's got some good games left in him, but he might get 30 one night and then come back and get 12 the next night. So I just don't know that that's going to be enough. So Not going to call the series right now, but I definitely like Miami in game one. And I think your Heat are in a nice position, man. They have a real nice opportunity here in front of them. They need to go ahead and take advantage of it. But I still think we'll get a fun series, even though obviously with Embiid being out, it takes a little bit of the sting out of it. I think we'll still get a fun series there, man. But all right, let's go ahead and grab a break here, K-Walk. And when we come back, I know you're going to get into the 2022 NFL draft. I want to go back in history a little bit. When we come back, let's talk about the 3 worst picks in NFL draft history. And there was a lot to choose from. Honestly, there was. But, I don't want to be all negative. So after we do that, we'll do our three biggest steals in NFL draft history. So that should be fun. We'll do that when we come back. You're listening to the Walkthrough Radio Show with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to the Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. All right, the NFL draft was this past week. You got to love the draft, man. If you're any kind of a football fan, and even if you follow college football, you just want to see where some of these guys end up, man. And for me, it's always great to see these young men because, K-Walk, look, we know how hard that they work to get to that point. So it's great, man, just to see their dreams finally come true. So that's always fun, man. So I know we're going to get into some of that stuff a little bit later, but let's go in a little bit of a different direction here, man. Let's talk about some guys that didn't quite work out when it came to the NFL draft. There's been a lot of bust over the years, man, and for different reasons. Sometimes it's injury. Sometimes it's just a bad fit. Sometimes it's just the player making bonehead decisions, so it's not necessarily always the player's fault. Sometimes it's the organization. Sometimes it's an unavoidable injury, but needless to say, there are a lot of busts out there, K-Walk. So give me your 3 worst picks in NFL draft history, or your 3 biggest busts in NFL draft history.
Yeah, Jay, like you stated earlier before the break, is that there are a lot of players to to pick from. But I narrowed it down to 3 that I thought that was going to be really great players in the league for a long time. I'm going to start with number 3, and number 3 is Carlos Rogers, the receiver from Detroit Lions. He came in, man. I thought he was going to be Megatron before Megatron was Megatron, to be honest with you. But obviously, he turned out to be a bust. I don't know what it is, Jay. I can't put my finger on it. Can't describe it. I don't know what it is, but it just didn't pan out. So number 3 for me was Carlos Rogers, again from Detroit. And number 2, this guy, when he was in college, just phenomenal, man. And it's Trent Richardson, the running back from the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, yeah.
He was, I was like, oh my God, what happened to this guy, man? I thought he was going to come in there and just take over the league. He was going to be, the next, Emmitt Smith, the next Barry. I don't want to say he didn't have that type of skill, but just from a football standpoint and getting those yards, I thought that he was going to be phenomenal. And I think that if anyone who watches football, this guy, number 1, I think he's by far, in my opinion, the biggest bust ever. And that's DeMarcus Russell. I mean, good gracious, what this dude came out with LSU, was LSU guy, man. I mean, I don't know what it was, Jay. He kind of reminds me of Zion Williams kind of reminds me of Jamarcus Russell. I said Jamarcus Russell. And it just seems like once he got that number 1 overall pick, Jay, he just seems like he just shut everything down. He said, I got this money. I'm good to go. And he just never panned out. And he was a phenomenal talent, Jay. Tall, had the size, had the arm strength. So yeah, I'm gonna 3 Carlos Rogers, 2 Trent Richardson, and number 1 Jamarcus Russell from me, Jay.
Man, those are great ones, and you're right. A lot of the factor in is how they get on this list is because you have such high expectations for them when they come out, right? And all three of those guys were high expectation guys. Like sometimes a team will just reach for someone and then you can't really put it on the player. Like if I'm a third round pick and you reach for me, well, that's on you. But all these guys, you, right? Man, we're supposed to be certified, and they all, man, those are some great calls. All right, my number 3, man, I went, and a lot of this had to do again with expectation. Brian Bosworth, the 1987 NFL draft. Man, this guy was taken number 1 overall, the Boz, the haircut, everything coming out of Oklahoma. Yeah. He started 24 games in the NFL, K-Walk. That's it, 24 games. That's like a season and a half. And this guy career only has 4 sacks in his career, man. So for a number 1 overall pick, he's on my list at number 3. Number 2, I went with your boy Jamarcus Russell, man. He could have clearly had the number 1 spot, no question. I threw him at number 2, and like you said, man, for all the reasons. He was 7-18, man, as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And then just the bonehead decisions that he was making off the field, not taking care of his body, just getting involved in things that he had no business getting involved in. So just an example of a guy that got the money and didn't know how to continue to do the work to stay in the NFL. So I had Jamarcus Russell at number 2. At number 1, man, I went with Ryan Leaf. And I know he played a little bit, but if you remember, man, like they were deciding Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf. It was like a coin flip. So when you look at Peyton's career, and everything that he did, and then you look at Ryan Leaf and you're like, oh, this guy was the coin flip. So I put him down as my number 1 bust, man. He started 18 games in 3 years, 4-14 as a starting quarterback, man. And that's for the number 2 pick overall behind Peyton Manning. So incredible bust there. Honorable mention to Achilles Smith, Tim Couch. Those were some other guys I had on my list as well. Big bust as well. But yeah, man, I went with the Boz at 3, Jamarcus Russell at 2, and Ryan Leaf at 1.
Yeah, for sure. And Jay, I played in Canada. I was when I was at Edmonton. Tim Couch's brother was there. His older brother was actually one of the quarterbacks there, and everybody was just getting on him because he was supposed to be the number 1, supposed to be the number 1 pick the following year. It was 99, and they were getting on him about it, like, well, you're here, but your brother's gonna be the number 1 pick, next year in the NFL. So it's funny you brought that up.
Yeah, that's funny, man. All right, so that's the bad side of it. Let's go to the good side of it, man, because there's been some great steals in the NFL draft. Guys that people didn't think were going to do much, quite frankly. Guys that were sort of afterthoughts on people's big boards, but turned out to be tremendous players, Hall of Famers, Pro Bowlers, whatever the case may be. So let's switch it over now. K-Walk, give me your 3 biggest steals in NFL draft history.
Jay, this was really hard for me, but I narrowed it down. I'm a football guy, so I went back. a little bit. It's nothing too recent. So the number 3 for me, Jay, was Deacon Jones, man. I think Deacon Jones with the Rams was a monster. And back then they had I forget how many rounds there were, but he was a 14th round pick, Jay. Good, crazy. And we all know, and we all know the career that he had there with the Rams. So I went with Deacon Jones, just a phenomenal talent on that defensive end, man. He'll rip your head off, man. If you came in with the wrong way. The second one, man, I went with my guy, Joe Montana. I went with Joe Montana here. He was a 3rd round pick for the 49ers out of Notre Dame. And we all know, he was up until recently, he was considered to be the GOAT, the greatest of all time as far as the quarterback position. So I went with him. So with that being said, the number 1 steal of all time would be Tom Brady. I mean, we're talking about the 6th round pick, man, and he was a 6th round pick out of Michigan. And then, obviously he's at 7 Super Bowls, Jay. I mean, good gracious, man. I mean, what more can you say about this guy? But yeah, I went with Tom Brady. So I went with Deacon Jones at number 3, Joe Montana at number 2, and then Tom Brady at number 1.
No, those are great, man. I wrote a few extra names down just in case
Okay.
we had some overlap because we are thinking a lot alike on these, man. But I had Deacon Jones here too.
Mhm.
I'm not going to put him on my list since you used him, but yeah, man,
Okay.
he's the reason we have the name Sack because he was getting all these
Yes.
tackles for losses, tackling the quarterback, and they said, "Look, we need to come up with something for this." So this guy is the reason that we come up with the term a sack. And he was picked in the 14th round, man. That just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. All right, but my official number 3, I'm going to go Shannon Sharpe, K-Walk. When you start talking about the greatest tight ends ever to do it, you're not going to get very far down the list before you come to Shannon Sharpe. This guy was a 7th round pick, 7th round pick to the NFL Hall of Fame. So I have Shannon Sharpe at number 3. And I'm right with you with number 2, man. Joe Montana, like you said before, Tom Brady, he was the GOAT. How does this guy go in the 3rd round, especially coming out of a place like Notre Dame? Like sometimes you see guys that if they're at a smaller school, I could see how maybe you would get overlooked or maybe scouts have questions. But this guy played at Notre Dame. How do you miss Joe Montana? So, yeah, I definitely had him at number 2. And then, of course, I mean, number 1 has to be Tom Brady. I mean, a 6th round pick. People were just wondering, can this guy even play in the NFL? It's funny, man, because even when he was at Michigan, he wasn't like a full-time starter. He was battling back and forth with Greasy and other guys like that. So, but boy, did he hit his stride in New England. So, yeah, Tom Brady is definitely the biggest steal in NFL draft history. Of course, the GOAT now at the quarterback position. So I got Shannon Sharpe at 3, Joe Montana at 2, and the GOAT Tom Brady at number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can't argue with 2 of the 3, but yeah, Shannon Sharpe is a great call there. Young kid, I mean, out of Savannah State. We see what he did with the Broncos. Love his trash talking. I mean, he has a great show as well, Undisputed with Skip Bayless. So I can't argue with that. I really like that. Really like that.
And I was searching, man, just looking for another one. I was just looking to see what round Jerry Rice was drafted in, but he was a 1st round pick. So I was like, okay, well, we can't really call him a steal if he was a 1st round pick. But I had to look that up real quick because I was like, man, did they miss on Jerry too? But at least they got that one right, man. So those are our biggest busts and steals, ladies and gentlemen, of the NFL draft. We're going to grab a break. When we come back, K-Walk's going to take us through the NFL draft. He's got some great stuff to talk about. You are listening to the Walkthrough Radio Show with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You are tuned into the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Before the break, we were talking NBA playoffs, gave our top 3 NFL busts and NFL steals as well. So great stuff there, Jay. Want to go back, want to stay on the NFL talk, and I want to talk to the draft, Jay. And we had some interesting picks, if you will. I want to talk with my 49ers here, and I just wanted to ask you right now, they didn't trade Debo. It seemed like it was a foregone conclusion that he would have been traded. And it was talks about the Jets, coming in there. They offered the 49ers the number 10 overall, 2nd round as well. 49ers declined it. They said, listen, we're not trading this guy. Debo's still asking for a trade right now. Even after today, he still wants that trade. The 49ers are like, listen, man, I don't know where the disconnect is here, Jay, because it seems like the 49ers aren't feeling like, he's going to be traded because they had a slew of calls coming in, Jay.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on the 49ers. First, we're going to talk about Debo and why do you feel like the 49ers didn't trade Debo when they had all that, draft capital out there waiting for them? And what do you see him going forward as far as, can he be traded at this point? And if you're the 49ers, would you trade him? What say you?
Yeah, man, I almost feel like they missed their opportunity. Because I had
Yeah,
said last week, if there was a way to work it out, I would try to work it out because he's a great player. But if he's dead set on not wanting to be there, I think you got to make a move and get him up out of there. And if someone's going to offer you the number 10 pick, I don't know that you can really do much better than that, right? So if I was running that, I would have took that deal and I would have went and got myself a really, really good player with that number 10 pick. But now I feel like they kind of boxed themselves into a corner. Like, I mean, what can they do any better than some of those offers that were on the table? I'm not so sure, K-Walk. So now it's like, maybe we have to try to keep this guy because we lost our opportunity to really get his value, to really get his worth by not jumping on some of these offers on draft day. So I think they made a mistake if they're planning on getting rid of him. Seriously. I think they made a mistake. Now, if they're just dead set on keeping him, this thing might get ugly at some point, especially if he really doesn't want to be there. But maybe John Lynch and Coach Shanahan feel like they can get this thing worked out. I don't know. But I feel like their best chance to get value was on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, for sure, Jay. And you know that I'm dialed in, with the 49ers and with the draft. I'm always dialed in. I'm sitting there watching it with my wife, my son, and I'm looking like, okay, it's about 7th pick, I think it was. I started like, okay, we're going to hear some noise. So I started going on the 49ers websites, listening to their local radio shows, all that, Jay. I was really dialed in because I'm thinking like, okay, the Jets are coming up right now. And they offered them that. I'm like, okay. So after the Jets decided, or it wasn't decided that a trade was going to take place between those two teams, I'm like, okay, 49ers are going to keep this guy. They're going to keep this guy. So that's why I was wondering where the disconnect is, between those, between the 49ers and between Debo and his representation. Because of the fact of the matter is the 49ers are known for taking care of their guys. I mean, I mentioned it, a number of times. Look at George Kittle. Look at Jimmy Garoppolo for that guy. They traded for him and they took care of him. Look at Fred Warner. I mean, the list goes on and on as far as recent guys or current guys. So that's why I'm kind of concerned. Like, he's still coming out saying he wants to trade, meaning Deebo Samuel. So I'm like, what is going on with this guy? Can someone please tell us? And he's always throwing out subliminals, man. I'm like, all right, man, what is going on? Why do you want to trade? He never came out and said why he wanted to trade, why he wants to trade, I should say. So, it is what it is. I think it'll play out. I think they ultimately will get the deal done, but I just don't see what they would trade for at this point, especially unless you're giving, future draft picks or things of that nature. That's the only thing I can think of. But I thought that the great trade offer from the Jets was perfect. I thought it was perfect for them. And then the 49ers said, nah, we're good. So we'll see how that goes, Jay, man. I'll stay locked in and I'll keep you locked in. But they did make some interesting picks, though. So I want to get your thoughts on this. They didn't pick number 61 in the second round. And they picked up the young kid, Drake Jackson, a raw talent out of USC. I don't know if you got a chance to see this kid, any film on him or anything like that. But what say you about this pick, man? And it just looked like the 49ers, when I'm looking at all the draft, all they're doing right now, they're just drafting for depth. They don't really have any true needs. They just need to be deeper. But what say you about Drake Jackson? Excuse me.
No, I like that pick, man. Obviously, I think this guy is an outstanding athlete, right? Maybe a little bit raw. Obviously, he's going to need to be coached up some and skill development and things like that. But I do think that's a really good pick, especially when you're making your first pick in the second round. I don't think you could do much better than that. I also like the running back that they grabbed. What is it? Tyrone Davis-Price, I think it was. In the third round. I think he's going to be a nice little fit too. Like you said, doesn't have to be a starter, but if he can just contribute, I think that helps the team. And then a sneaky pick, man, in round 6. Castro Fields out of Penn State. Look, he
I was
played a
gonna
lot
mention.
of
I knew he was
football.
gonna. Yeah.
He played a lot of football at Penn State, man. He was like a 4-year starter, and he's long. He can run. I think he does need to work on some of his technique, especially playing the
Yeah.
ball when it's in the air. But another guy that could contribute if he gets the right coaching, he could also make an impact. So I think when you look at what they did, especially not having a first round pick, I think they did about as well as you can do given the circumstances.
Yeah, great point. I knew you were going to go. I knew you were going to steal my thunder there, man. Especially with the Penn State gear on. But yeah, I had to throw that in there. But yeah, great stuff there, Jay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I also like the young kid, or the young man. Excuse me, I gotta get out of that mode. The young man out of SMU, the Danny Gray, the receiver there. I thought that was a really good steal. I think it fits exactly what Kyle Shanahan likes to do in his offense. And we still don't know what the Debo situation is. But again, it's all about depth right now. That's what their goal is right now, just to ensure and solidify the depth of this particular team. So I definitely like it. There's going to be some pressure put on Trey Lance this year, for sure. Because I'd still, even without Debo, I'm going to take Debo out of the equation and say, listen, we don't have Debo, but I still think this team is a top 7 team in the NFC, and that ultimately will get them in the playoffs,
Right.
for sure. But moving on, Jay, the next team I want to talk about your Philadelphia Eagles, man. It seems like they kind of. They made some splashes, man. They made some splashes, to say the least.
They did.
Yeah. So the first pick they got, the D tackle out of Georgia, Jordan Davis. I thought it was an excellent pick. It's exactly what they needed. You got a quality guy there, Jay. Not to mention the trade with AJ Brown. Oh wow, who saw that coming? But so with that being said, Jay, give me your thoughts on the picks, AJ Brown trade, and how much pressure does this put on Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, man. You could maybe make the argument that the Eagles won the draft. Obviously getting AJ Brown, I think that was huge because they needed him, and then you pair him with the receiver from Alabama, DeVonta Smith? Yeah, DeVonta Smith. Now you got 2 guys, man. You got 2 guys that can flat out get it done. So I like that pairing, and they're different. AJ Brown is a big physical receiver. DeVonta is a little bit more slight, but can run, great route runner. Right. So you got 2 guys that are very different. So I like that for Philly. And then when you start looking at the picks, man, Jordan Davis, I think like that, he's an NFL defensive tackle. He's gigantic. Number one, you're not going to move him, but he can run. Like this guy can run sideline to sideline. So I thought that was a great pick. They got a center out of Nebraska, Jurgens.
Yeah.
I think he's
like I wanted him so bad.
Yeah, he's a plug and play guy. Like he's ready to go. He'll probably start from day one. He's a plug and play guy. And then I love that they went and got Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round, another linebacker out of Georgia, because I know he's had some injury history and that scared some teams away. But I watched a lot of Georgia football, K-Walk, and this kid can flat out play. Sure. He can run sideline to sideline. He can cover. He's big. He's physical. So if healthy, he's going to be a great player for Philly. And look, if he doesn't pan out, it only costs him a 3rd round pick. So I thought, all in all, those were great picks. Now, when you start talking about Jalen Hurts, I don't think Philly's really in love with Jalen Hurts. I think they like him. I don't think they love him. So I think this year is it, right? He's going to have to show it or he's going to be out the door. So he's got the weapons. I think he's going to have to perform at a high level. Yeah. It's going to be the last year we see Jalen Hurts in an Eagles uniform, or at least from a starting standpoint.
Yeah. So with that being said, Jay, how much confidence do you have in Jalen Hurts? Do you feel like he's going to get it done? Do you feel like your prediction? You're an Eagles fan. You know you pledge your allegiance to the Eagles. Fly, Eagle, fly. So with that being said, do you think he'll get it done?
Man, that's a great question. My confidence, if I'm being 100% honest, my confidence isn't really high, K-Walk. I maybe say a 4 or 5 on a scale from 1 to 10. And I hate to be one of those guys that's like, oh, he can't throw, blah, blah, blah. But I I just don't think he throws it like with the right timing for the NFL.
Yes,
Like
yes,
the timing from college to pro is just different, and throws that you could get away with in college you can't get away with in the NFL, so you have to throw with
right.
more anticipation. And up to this point, I just don't think he's shown that he can do that consistently. Yes, he's had some
Yeah,
flashes, so unless he takes a big step forward with that, I don't know. I think he's okay. He's good, right? I mean, he's
hmm
fine, but he's not the kind of guy that's going to make you say, okay, I'm ready to just put everything behind this guy. This is my franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. To me, he hasn't shown that yet. So I give it a
yeah.
5 on the confidence meter, man. And he's going to have to prove it to me this coming season.
All right, all right. Well, I'm gonna slide this one in here, Jay, before we take our next break. Because the Jets, Jets, Jets. Jay, I'm here in New York, and I'm telling you right now, these Jets fans are fired up. I mean, you look at this draft, Jay. They took Ahmad Gardner, aka Sauce. They love this
Yes.
guy. They didn't make the trade with the 49ers, so I said, listen, okay, we didn't get Debo, so we're going to go after the arguably the best receiver in the draft, and Garrett Wilson. Then they trade back into the first round, Jay, and pick up Jermaine Johnson, the edge guy from the edge rusher from Florida State.
Yep.
Then they bring in the running back, Brees Hall. I mean, Jay, this team, I mean, Robert Saleh, and I love Robert Saleh. You know that because he's a former defensive coordinator for the 49ers. He's doing an
Right.
excellent job right now, understanding what the team needs are, and I love Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets. He's allowing the coach and the GM to do their job because there's some coach. I mean, there's some
Yeah,
owners out there.
that's right.
I'm not going to say what owners, Miss Princess Cooper, because I know Princess Cooper is listening, won't allow some people to do their job. But nonetheless, what
Jerry
say you
Jones.
about the Jets? Jay said it. Jay said it, Princess. I didn't say it. Well, what say you about the Jets and this draft, Jay?
Look, man, I said earlier you could make the argument the Eagles won the draft, but I really think
Mm-hmm,
the Jets probably did. Getting 3 first
mm-hmm.
round picks is huge, and they didn't miss on any of them, in my opinion.
No.
Sauce
Nope.
Gardner, man, that dude is NFL ready. He's got an NFL body. He's long. He's fast. He can cover. Like, I think that was a great pick coming out of Cincinnati. And look,
Yes, sir.
I've seen Garrett Wilson from Ohio State up close and personal. This guy is absolutely phenomenal. I think his
Mm-hmm,
game is going to translate to the NFL very well. You mentioned the edge rusher out of Florida State, Johnson. I think that was a great pick,
mm-hmm.
another just outstanding athlete. And then Brees Hall, man, some people are saying this guy's the best back in the entire draft. So if you
Yeah.
steal the best back in the draft in the second round, that's just a great job, man. So when you look at the Jets, look, I know they're kind of the butt of everyone's jokes and they've been a bit of a laughing stock, but it kind of feels like the momentum is starting to shift there in New York, man. So I love what the Jets did. And now we'll wait and see if it translates on Sundays, but I love what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, Jay. And there's buzz all around, man. And you talk about the Giants as well. I gotta talk about the Giants if I'm talking about the Jets because I'm in New York and I know a slew of both fans base. So give me your thoughts on the Giants because if I don't talk about the Giants on this show, Jay, I'm going to get hounded, man. But number number one overall, they took Evan Neal, the right tackle out of Alabama, man. I thought this kid is this that you mentioned. I forget who you mentioned as pro ready. Oh, the young kid there out of Nebraska.
Yeah,
But I think he's pro ready as well, Jay.
no
And
question.
also they in the round 2 they took the wide receiver out of Kentucky, Wandale Robinson.
Yep.
And give me your overall thoughts on these guys and the Jets. I mean the Giants. Excuse me. The Giants draft as well.
Did they get Kayvon Thibodeau as well, the edge out of Oregon? Did they get him as well, or did I see that wrong?
No, I think who got them?
Okay,
No, no, they didn't draft him. So who got Thibodeau? I had him on my list,
okay.
but
I
go
must
ahead.
have I
No, no,
must
they
have
didn't.
wrote it down wrong, but no, I agree.
Mhm.
Evan Neal, man, that out of Alabama. We talked last week. I said I thought he could be the number one pick in the draft. I think he's
Yeah,
that good. And
yeah,
coming out of Alabama, those guys are pro ready. They've been coached hard.
yeah.
They understand football. They know they have a work
Mhm.
ethic, so high IQ, discipline. So I don't think you can miss with an offensive tackle coming out of Alabama. And then I love the
Yeah,
Wan'Dale Robinson pick out of Kentucky.
yeah,
He's fast, man. He's fast, he's quick, he's
yeah.
shifty. I really think his game, if you put him in the slot or something like that, that's going to translate very well too. So look, the Jets had a great day. The Giants had a really good draft as well. So I think they did well as also.
Hey Jay, man, since we're talking about home base, you're based in Atlanta, so let's talk about the Falcons draft and what they did and how the fans down there feel about the way the draft went. I thought it was an interesting draft for them. I thought they would trade back early, Jay. To be honest with you, they did pick up one of my favorite guys, Drake London, out of USC, the big time receiver. Reminds me a lot of Mike Evans there. But what say you about the Atlanta Falcons draft and what the locals are saying? I'm calling them locals. I guess I'm calling them locals, but what they're saying about the draft.
Honestly, man, there's been some people that have been a little unhappy. I've been seeing
Yeah.
some complaints on online and just on sports radio of people saying like, "What are they doing? They missed out on some needs that this team really had." I think Drake London. I think that's a good pick. Obviously, I think this guy is
Mhm.
a super talented receiver. I think
Yeah.
he's really going to help the team. But then, like, if Marcus Mariota is your guy, which I said when it happened, like, I don't know, is he really going to be your starting quarterback? They go and get Desmond Ridder in the fourth round. Some people were
Right.
unhappy with that. They felt like maybe they could have used that pick to fill some other holes on this team. So I think they did okay, but I think the overall mood here in Atlanta is that they had some misses and they had some opportunities to fill some holes that they just didn't get it done.
Right. Okay, yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Hey Jay, what we'll do, I'm going to forego our break here, man. And what I want to do is I want to dive into I want to dive into my start bench cut here, Jay, with you, man.
All right.
I thought about you, man, on this one, man. And first and foremost, man, let me just say that the first one is just strictly football. It's just we talked about owners, and I know Princess Cooper is listening, so I got her guy in here. So start bench cut. We got three owners here, Jay. We got Jerry Jones from the
Okay.
Dallas Cowboys. We got Robert Kraft from the New England Patriots, and we got Art Rooney from the Pittsburgh
Ooh.
Steelers.
Oh
Who
man.
start bench?
Man, that's tough, K-Walk, because number one, for as much hate or jokes that people make
Yes,
about
right.
Jerry Jones, right? Like, I know they haven't
Hmm.
won in a long time, but they do have some trophies up there in Dallas, right? I mean, they do
Facts,
have some
facts.
trophies there. So I know people like to make fun of Jerry a lot, but he's won. It's just been a long time. But then you start talking
Right.
about Robert Kraft and all the recent success, and then Art Rooney. I mean, the Rooneys. I mean, man, this is tough, K-Walk. But
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna start Art Rooney, man, just because
Okay. Yeah, I love it.
when you think
Yeah.
about the Roonies, man, and everything they do for football and
Yes.
everything that they've tried to do to help minority candidates and African Americans, and not just that, but the
Great
way
point.
they run their organization. Like, you don't ever hear anyone really say anything bad about how Pittsburgh runs its organization. So I'm going to start Art Rooney. I'm going to bench Robert Kraft just because, look, they got all those Super Bowls. And whether you want to say it's Belichick and
Massage
Brady or
parlor.
whatever.
Massage parlor.
No, they got all the Super Bowls recently, so I got to bench Robert Kraft. And this is no hate on Jerry, but they just haven't won in 25 years. So I gotta cut Jerry Jones, man. So I'll start Rooney, I'll bench Kraft, and Jerry's got to go. But I like Jerry, I do.
Yeah. I you know what? I love it because it gives it, like you said, it gives us somebody to talk about, so I'm definitely going to side with you on that there, Jay. Now, I can't say too much about we're not winning in 25 years because I'm a 49ers fan. We haven't won in 25, 26 years, however long it's been. So, but we've been there though. We won playoff games and we've been to a couple Super Bowls and NFC championship as well. So, that's the only thing that I can combat that. So yeah, I'm going to start Art Rooney for everything that you said. The minority, you got that minority coach there. You got, Mike Tomlin there, and he's been winning. He hasn't had a losing season, excuse me, and in any of his years there, man. So for sure. So with that being said, Jay, I'm going to start Art Rooney. I'm going to bench Robert Kraft, even though he had that situation in the massage parlor. I'm sorry, Princess. I'm so sorry. But I'm going to bench Robert Kraft. I'm going to start. I'm going to cut Jerry Jones. I'm sorry, Princess. I do apologize. I know she's listening. So next one, Jay. All right. This is where it gets interesting for me, Jay. All right. So this is. Hold on. I'm getting a little echo here. All right, here we go. All right. So, Jay, so you got to start one, cut one. Bench one, cut one. All right. You got our state championship team.
Oh.
All right. So you know where this is going. Then you got our state football. Then you got our state track football team. State championship track. And then you got your Rose Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Oregon.
Oh man.
So again, it's our state football. Let me clarify. I was messing up a little bit. So we got our 1991 state football championship. We got our 1991 state track championship, and you got your 1994 Rose Bowl win over the Oregon. And even though I thought y'all should have been at least national championships in that season, but what say you?
Yeah, you ain't lying about that. Oh man, this is tough, K-Wall. But I think I'm going to start. I got to start the high school championship football team. I have to, man, because that's where it all began, man. That's where it all began. And, what we have, like 45, 50 guys on that team, something like that. Just a tight-knit group, man. And all the work we put in leading up to that. Like when I think when we were in 8th grade, I think the varsity team lost every single game. When we were in 9th grade, they lost every game. When we were sophomores, they were like 0-18 on an 18-game losing streak. So all the work that went into turning that program around and then winning a state championship our senior year, I'm starting that one.
All right.
I got to bench the Rose Bowl. I got to bench the Rose Bowl. I got to bench the Rose Bowl just because it's the Rose Bowl, man. An undefeated season, it doesn't happen often. So I got to bench the Rose Bowl. I'll cut track. Even though that was great, but as you know, I wasn't a huge part of the track program. Y'all were winning all the medals. Right. I was coming in 3rd and 4th and all that kind of stuff. I was slowing us down on that 400 relay. And you and Mark Nelms were bringing us back. So I'll cut track, man. But that's a great one, K-Walk. That's a great.
Yeah,
so
man,
I'll start football, bench the Rose Bowl, and cut track.
All right, great stuff. Hey, Jay, man, don't sell yourself short, man. We needed those medals, man. Can I tell you? And it's so funny, Jay, because you and I, I remember when you and I were in, I think it was 11th grade, and all we wanted to do was run track just to stay in shape for football. Because all we were focused on was football, but it turned into something totally different, Jay.
Yes,
so that's great stuff.
Yes, it did.
So, all right, here we go. So now I'm going to go to your favorite high school game. All right, your favorite high school football. This is senior year. So we got the RV game where you broke the school rushing title. Okay. Then we got the Delran game, which was homecoming. Then we won the Patriot Division Championship. And
Yep.
we also got the Palmyra game, which is,
Ooh.
our backdoor, our backyard rivals. We were down 6-0 and came back to win 39-6. Start bench cut.
Man, that's another tough one, K Walk. Um, this is tough. I wonder how you're gonna go on this, but because I think I'm gonna start Palmyra just because of the rivalry. Like I knew all those guys. Like I played little league football against all those guys, man. So to come back and go against them, and how we used to play each other in basketball in the summers at the park and all that kind of stuff, and then to beat them on the football field, that was fun, man. So I'm gonna start the Palmyra game. I'm gonna bench the Delran game just because it was Delran, man. And I remember there was a lot of buildup coming into that game. Tons of fans were at that one. You, of course, had the great punt return in that game. So that was just a memorable game. And like you said, Patriot Division champs. The RV game, even though I broke the record there, that was a fun game. I don't know. There's nothing really super special that stood out for me in that game. I think I went for like 235 that game. So I don't want to downplay
I think I went for like 235.
But I don't know, man. I think those other two just mean more to me. So I'm going Palmyra start, bench Delran, and I'll cut RV.
All right, man. Great stuff there, Jay. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Palmyra, man. I'm going to start Palmyra because of everything you just mentioned. And I didn't score in that game. Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Jay had a great game there. And I just remember so much junk talking. And I'm going to shout out Jay Langston as well. Jay Langston, man, that dude, if you were slipping, he would hit you in your mouth. So, I just remember us being down 6-0. I returned a kickoff for about 30 yards. And I said, now I remember saying this, Jay. I said, now we're going to show them what Cinnamon Minson could do. Yeah. And then exact my words, not paraphrasing, ladies and gentlemen. And we wound up winning again. Like I said, 39-6. So I love that game. I'm going to I'm going to bench Delran because of everything that you mentioned. I think I'm going to bench Delran. The hype around that. You had a great touchdown there to start us off and got the crowd going. I remember Miss Rossi, and when we went out there, the pirate head in the middle of the field. That's the first time we saw that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that distinctly. Yeah. And I remember going one day to her and I said, oh my God, that was so beautiful. And then of course, the punt return, but I always, I don't know to talk about myself. But so yeah. And the Patriot Division Championship homecoming, it was just a great atmosphere. So yeah, so definitely gonna bench Delran there. And the RV game, I mean, I thought you would say that but you don't like to talk about yourself like I don't like to talk about myself. That's why I threw that one in there, for sure, Jay, man, for sure. So great stuff, man. Listen,
you know what, man?
Go ahead.
One thing I remember about that RV game, because I think it might have been somewhat close in the first half. I don't really remember. Yeah. But I remember I got tackled and somebody said something to me and I put my finger through the guy's face mask and poked him in the nose. And I remember at halftime, Coach Riley was on me because I think I got a 15-yard penalty or something. And Coach was like, hey, gotta stop you play after play. What are you doing? I remember him not being happy with me, man, because I poked some guy in the nose who said something to me, man. It was funny, but it's weird some of the stuff you remember from these games, but that's stuck in my memory for some reason.
Yes, Jay. I mean, I remember all those things. I remember, I think your brother A almost got into it because the guy tackled him out of bounds. And I remember him getting in his face. Yeah, it was great. And I remember the next morning watching the local news, and they profiled you because you broke the school rush. Remember that? That spin move. Yeah, man. Yeah, so I mean, so many great memories, Jay. But yeah, I'm glad I made it tough for you, brother. But for sure. Great stuff there. Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, for sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time that we have. Always got to leave you guys with something, and today I'll leave you with this: dreams only work if you do. Okay. So with that being said, I am Kevin Walker alongside Jason Collins for the Walkthrough Radio Show right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. God willing, we'll talk to you next week.